Sure, here's an explanation of each of the potential headings for a video or presentation about climate change. Introduction to climate change. Understanding the basics. This section would provide an overview of what climate change is, how it works, and why it matters. It would introduce key terms and concepts related to climate change, such as greenhouse gases, the greenhouse effect, and global warming. The evidence of climate change. What the data tells us. This section would explore the scientific evidence that supports the existence of climate change, such as temperature records, ice core samples, and satellite data. It would also address common misconceptions or myths about climate change and highlight the scientific consensus on the issue. Climate change and extreme weather. The impact on our lives. This section would examine the ways in which climate change is already affecting our weather patterns, including more frequent and severe heat waves, droughts, floods, and hurricanes. It would also discuss the social and economic impacts of these extreme weather events. The causes of climate change. Exploring human and natural factors. This section would look at the various factors that contribute to climate change, including human activities like burning fossil fuels and deforestation, as well as natural factors like volcanic eruptions and changes in solar radiation. Climate change and biodiversity loss. The threat to our ecosystems. This section would explore how climate change is affecting the world's ecosystems and the species that inhabit them. It would examine the impacts of rising temperatures, ocean acidification, and sea level rise on biodiversity and highlight the importance of protecting and preserving our natural world. The global response to climate change. International agreements and policies. This section would examine the global efforts to address climate change, including international agreements like the Paris Agreement and policies enacted by governments around the world. It would also address the challenges and opportunities of international cooperation on climate change. Mitigating climate change. Steps we can take to reduce emissions. This section would discuss the various strategies and technologies that can help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, such as renewable energy, energy efficiency, and carbon capture and storage. It would also address the economic and social benefits of transitioning to a low-carbon economy. Adapting to climate change. Preparing for the impacts we cannot avoid. This section would explore the ways in which communities and governments can prepare for and adapt to the impacts of climate change that are already inevitable, such as sea level rise and more frequent and severe weather events. It would highlight the importance of building resilience and preparedness. The role of business in addressing climate change. Corporate responsibility and action. This section would examine the role that businesses and corporations can play in addressing climate change, including through sustainable business practices, investment in clean technologies, and advocacy for policy change. The future of climate change. What lies ahead and what we can do about it. This section would explore the potential future scenarios for climate change, including the impacts of different levels of warming and the potential tipping points that could trigger runaway climate change. It would also provide actionable steps that individuals, communities, and governments can take to address climate change and build a more sustainable and resilient future.